All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Kunicki. I'm the founder and creator of the Queen Sweep. And today I am so excited to showcase one of our amazing Queen Sweep alum. And thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you. Happy to talk to present and future Queen Sweepers.
Yeah. So, Anne, you and I have done the Queen Sweep a bunch of times together now. Is that right? We've been through several iterations of it together, I think.
Yeah, I've been through 3 Queen Sweeps formally and another one that we did on our own in a group.
So you've done a lot of sweeping over the years.
Yep. I started Okay.
Go ahead.
I started in 2015, and what got me into the course? Then you were giving there was a series of brooms over, I think it was 6 weeks. And the first time I saw the ads for it, I've been on your list for a long time. First time I saw the ads for it, I thought, physical clutter isn't really that much of a problem for me. I mean, I have some. We have a small. We live in a townhouse in Centerville, Virginia. It's my husband and me, but we've been here about 25 years, and even though I clear things out regularly, stuff accumulates.
Yeah.
And then sometime in 2014 or 15, I read a blog post that you had written called "Your Maybes Are Costing You Big Time," and it was about how deferred decisions often turned up as clutter. And that I began to look at what I did have in a new way, because I was then transitioning from a period of about 20 years that I had spent in preparing and in grad school and in academic life working in plant science. And I was shifting gears at that point, looking for the next step, wondering if there's going to be a job or a business. So I looked around at what had accumulated, and I thought, there's a lot of stuff here I haven't finished. So that's why I got into the Free Queen Sweep. And the first broom we did then at that time was a story broom where we wrote our victim and hero stories. And that had a huge impact on me, because I had I've been tried rewriting my story a number of times, and it never worked very well somehow. But this time I was able to write the victim story and let go of it. And I realized I couldn't write the hero story until I had written the victim story and claimed what I had learned from it. So that was a huge shift for me, because the lessons I learned were central to the hero's quest. So that got me into the first master class that I went through in 2015. And I think that.
But tell me a little bit about as you went through that first master class, what did you notice shifting for yourself?
Okay, well, let's see. I already had a good routine for making the bed and doing the dishes and keeping what you call the 80-20 areas fairly clutter-free. I did reorganize my papers somewhat. I have stacking hot files, and I gave each shelf a clear purpose, and I got an area for incoming paper, so I kind of tidied up my paper sweep. I made the biggest improvement during the early cycles in exercising sovereignty over my time. My goal was to make progress on my creative work while I was formally job hunting, and not just to stay busy with household chores. And I found that as I began my creative projects tended to take a back seat to easily defined household tasks, and I was frustrated by that. So
I think that happens to a lot of us.
I set up a structured freedom planning system on the back of my the bedroom door I use as my office, and I defined 6 areas of projects and work, like my royal person and my realm and my art and my wealth and my that so forth. There's 6 of them, and I learned to do a brain dump and define tasks for the next 4 to 6 weeks and put them on that wall. I still kept a date book for appointments and reminders, but I had a color-coded system that let me see what I was spending my time on. And, that was enormously helpful in, catching myself when I, got into busy work. So that was a big area. And the other one was making commitments to joy, because I have trouble. I have trouble working that into my schedule, but because of the Queen Sweep, I made commitments to small bits of daily, weekly, and monthly fun and self-care, because I was brought up with that, finish your work before you play. So I've been able to chip away at that. It's a work in progress.
But the problem is that most of us are never, ever really done with our work anymore, because work is so different than, it used to be, that we just work and work and work and work, and we keep being like, wait, where's that carrot? Where's that thing that I'm going toward? When do I get the play part? That's the thing that surprises people often about the Queen Suite, because we do a lot of hard things. We look at paper and money and clutter and clean out closets, but it's not all hard stuff. It's also remembering that the whole point of all of it is to live these lives of joy. It makes me so happy to hear that you worked small doses of that into your life.
It's a work in progress, but it began during that first Queen Sweep. And I also, the other area, I also began feeling at that Queen Sweep, feeling like my financial resources, being between jobs, were so limited that there wasn't much I could do to improve my position until I got a job. I already paid most of my bills online. I planned ahead for bills and purchases. I reconciled accounts. My husband, fortunately, has been able to support our basic needs. But during that Queen Sweep, I started keeping a simple spreadsheet to record all the money coming in and all my purchases and bill payments. And I got to a twice-a-month financial check-in. And that gave me more clarity and peace of mind, because I knew, because that spreadsheet did my adding and subtracting, I knew exactly where I was, and not, instead of relying on reconciling my checkbook. So that was a big help, and I'm hoping to move to YNAB, a little later this fall. I think we're ready for that step.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's super great, but it can be overwhelming, which is why we have some sort of in-between steps for people who aren't quite ready to make that huge leap yet.
Yeah. And for me, just keeping an Excel spreadsheet where I entered all those things, it wasn't a tool that I necessarily could plan ahead, but I knew exactly where I was. Twice a month I sat down and, scheduled bills and so forth. So that I didn't have to worry about whether I was $20 off in my checking account. I knew.
Right.
So.
Right.
So
did you find that when you had that new level of clarity, even if you didn't have more money coming in, did you feel differently about your financial situation?
Yes. It freed up my peace of mind. It freed up my brain not to not to sort of vaguely wonder if I was off on something. And I think my biggest lesson from that turn of the spiral was that clarity is always my friend. Whether it's money or time or other resources or where I stand in a job search or other human interaction, because I could just about foggy situations. But, I need to tell the truth, and I need to ask for the truth from other people. And if they dodge it, that's a red flag. I had, that really helped, because I had people who were not honest with me, and it helped me smoke that out.
Isn't that funny? I feel like I have a similar conversation with people a lot, where they say, I did the Queen Sweep and I cleared up all this kind of physical stuff, and then I had all this clarity in in my relationships, about my work, and it can feel like a strange leap if you haven't gone through the process. It can be like, well, wait a minute, what does cleaning up your paper have to do with, sussing out red flags in relationships? But it really is connected, and I think you nailed it, Anne, when you said that it's really about standing in that place of truth.
That's
right?
Yeah, that's one thing. I also think it reinforced for me the power of choice. I think that's the other thing is because when you clear out your paper or your finances or whatever, you make those deferred decisions. You do something with the physical clutter or the financial fogginess, and that for me, I think the key was choice and establishing the kind of supportive habits and routines. The sweeps, the swoops, the systems.
Yeah.
For me,
all the systems.
I'm one of, in Gretchen Rubin's terms, I'm a questioner, so I don't really have much trouble establishing habits and routines if they make sense to me. And these did, And I found that having some additional structure and routine was very helpful, along with the clarity. It locks in choices. It saves you mental energy. And I think that also leaves you clear, with more energy and more clarity on other things. But you make some of those deferred decisions that are creating the clutter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's true. It's true, because I really do believe that when we're foggy in our minds, we end up creating more fogginess and murkiness in our physical surroundings. But then it's like a vicious cycle, because then we feel overwhelmed, and there are all these overwhelming decisions splayed out in the form of clutter. And so it can be really hard to break that cycle without some sort of, input of a new energy. And I think that the Queen Sweep systems, are helpful for that. And I also think that the community is just so amazing.
I was going to say that working on these things I found it very powerful to work on my own stuff in a supportive community with that group energy, and not just work on it, but share and celebrate. You've encouraged us to celebrate small wins, to make to make wee brags, to reward ourselves. So you do that, you get cheered on by the rest of the community. They remind you about rewarding yourself, which I forget because I need remedial joy, so I have to be reminded, and I try to remind other people. But that, that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun just at the end of the day when you've done something that nobody else in the world cares about. You cleaned off that kitchen shelf, and you want to go somewhere and get a gold star for it, because it was a bad day, and yet you promised yourself you'd do it, and you did it. And it's someplace you can come and show off your shelf, and people will get it. And
they will get it. They totally get it. It's not just a shelf. It's one more step toward creating the life that you want to create, and then that helps you become the person that you want to be. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I'm moving right now, and it's been really fun to post okay, here's the pile of boxes. Okay, it's slightly better. Okay, I got my kitchen counter clean. Woohoo!
Yay! Well,
I do value that.
Well,
it really is contagious.
It's so fun to read about other people. You know that somebody has trouble keeping their kitchen counter clean. They've complained about it, and yet they had an awful week, and by gosh, Saturday morning they went in and they cleaned their kitchen counter, and there's a picture of this shiny, clean kitchen, and you know how much it means to them, and it makes you feel better.
Half a dozen women who are all chiming in, and I'm like, yes, woo, woo! It feels so good, and I think I love that. We spend so much time only seeing each other's shiny exteriors on social media, and when you go over to a friend's house, they've always cleaned it. They're showing off their best side, and it's just there's a lot of relief in having a place where we get to see each other's tender insides a little bit more. We can take off some of that shiny exterior and just be really real, but also keep encouraging each other to keep taking those little tiny steps. And we've seen incredible shifts for people.
Yes.
Well, you're an amazing part of that community, and I'm so happy to have you as part of our Queen Sweep tribe. And Anne, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today and tell us a little bit about your story.
Oh, you're most welcome. I guess the last thing I wanted to say is the along with clarity and choice and community is making the commitment to consistent small steps. It's by gosh, you're going to get that kitchen counter clean, but I think you build that habit, that commitment, and you get there by small steps, and that's a good way of dealing with the overwhelm, overthinking, trying to progress in big leaps, which is me. I'm one of those marathon, those marathon people. We will get it all done today. And I think for me, relearning that you can progress by small steps and that you actually will get somewhere, that was another lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, and those small steps really add up.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what would you say, as we close up here, what would you say to someone wondering if they should join the Queen Sweep tribe at some point?
I would say that if there's, if physical clutter, is an issue in your life and it's holding you back, this will help you greatly. But if you're like me, maybe it's not physical clutter. Maybe there's some other area of fogginess in your life. Maybe it's finances. Maybe it's relationships. But if you have areas in your life where you're just sort of stuck and foggy, and you don't know what's going on, this will help you. Doing the physical work, as I say, even if it isn't your number one problem, we all have something. Will start to clear your mind, and it will give you insights into the areas where you're foggy. You will get clarity. You will exercise choice. So even if you don't think your problem is, external clutter and so forth, if you've got internal clutter, this will help you greatly. Because I got into this more to sweep my inner story than my outer surroundings, but it's made huge differences in both. And we don't all live, the ladies in this program do not all live in palatial mansions. So you never have to feel bad about, posting pictures of your tiny closet in your apartment or the awful basement with the dirt floor or whatever. We all live in places like that.
Real houses in
real,
the real world.
We're real people, not supermodels, and we live in real houses and apartments.
Yeah.
And
I
you
love
don't have
that
to feel embarrassed that your circumstances are modest or you're older. I'm 66, so this isn't all glamorous 20-somethings in the city. We live all over the country and the world in all kinds of circumstances. True. With kids, without kids, with partners, without, it's a very diverse community and a very welcoming one.
Oh, I just think it's maybe the friendliest place on the whole internet that I've ever found.
It's certainly one of the, I have an online women's community that grew out of something else that I love, but the Queen Sweep equals that community in kindness, in concern for others. You always get support, whatever you're going through. But, you, Anna, have, modeled and set the tone, but it is a very loving and supportive community. You will not hear anyone knock anyone down. We have some discussions and differences of opinion, but always respectfully and supportively. And deferring to the queen whose situation it is. Yeah, I think people do a really amazing job of being supportive and nudging each other along while still really respecting each other and always encouraging each other to make your own decisions and then see what happens. We've seen people through cancer surgery and divorces and finishing PhDs and the births of babies and international moves. All of it. It's so true. It's true. And I think now more than ever, I really appreciate that really safe, warm space online. It feels really precious to me. Oh, I'm getting a little bit misty thinking about it. Yeah. Well, Anne, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your presence, not just on this call, but in our community. So thank you so much for being such an amazing Queen Sweeper and sharing your story with us today. Okay, well, thank you, Anna. And, if there are any questions, I'll be glad to, if anybody has any questions for me at some point, I'll certainly be happy to expand on them. Oh, wonderful. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anne. We're going to wrap it up here. Okay. And thank you so much if you've been listening to this. Thanks, Anne. Bye-bye.